I am your host, Mike Marina, and I have someone very, very special for you today. Her poems have been published in Poet Lore, Rattle, Cultural Weekly, Diverse Voices Quarterly, Glassworks, The Coachella Review, Foliate Oak, Caveat Lector, Westward Review, and many others. One of her poems in particular, What Would Vasala Shimbroska Do?, is displayed at the James Whitcomb Riley Museum. A longstanding member of the Los Angeles Poets and Writers Collectives, viewers of PostScript, it is my true honor to introduce to you Chanel Brenner. Chanel, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. Your work is absolutely remarkable. Let me just say that flat out. I got a whole collection of your poems. And I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. So when you getting featured at the James Whitcomb Riley Museum, did you have to apply for that? How did that feel when that happened?
Well, actually, I entered a contest. It was the very first poetry contest that I entered. And it was very early in my writing after my son Riley died. And my friend, who I met in a writing class back then, had also lost a son. And she encouraged me to, because of the name of the contest was, it was like Words for Riley, which is my son's name. She's like, I just have a feeling about it that you're gonna win this contest, you know, send in this poem. So I submitted a poem and then I ended up winning the contest, and the award was to have the poem on display at the museum. So it was really like, it was really exciting for me at the time, really, yeah.
Wow, so the writing contest was named Words for Riley.
Yeah.
Wow, that is absolutely incredible. So a lot of your work does deal with processing grief and all of the whole spectrum of dealing with those types of emotions. What was it really about poetry that kind of called to you that to help you process everything?
Yeah, you know, I think it was survival. It was, I remember, you know, I was sitting in the kitchen the night that he was dying, that he was in the hospital, and I felt like it was my lifeline. Like I could either sit down and write a poem, or I was just going to start doing something very destructive, like screaming and pulling my hair out.
Right, right.
So it was just, yeah, it was in the beginning, it was really about survival. And also for me, reading other people's writing about their losses really helped me feel less alone, you know.
Speaking about reading about other people's losses, through their writing. You've mentioned before that your writing teacher gave you a book called Andrew's Poems by Shelley Wagner. Do you still own that book?
I still own that. I love that. I actually go back to it every now and then and just read some of her poems because they just spoke to me.
What was it about her poems that spoke to you?
The honesty, and I think the honesty, the images, and that it was, the whole collection was about her son that she lost. It was very, you know, and so just at the time, I felt like I could relate to so many of her poems about her son.
I'm sure it was the perfect collection to read at the time. It sounds amazing.
Definitely, yeah.
It's definitely on my reading list, for sure. When you were writing, but when writing about such a personal topic, how did it feel when you started winning awards? Like everything was well-deserved. Your writing is marvelous. But did you have to reconcile the fact that these poems were now very, very public, and it was about a very personal topic?
Yeah, you know, a lot of times, you know, I love sharing my work, and I think there is a raw feeling that I get, like a vulnerable, you know, I do feel vulnerable afterwards. But I'm not an extremely private person. Like some people I think would have a more difficult time with the privacy. I've always been very honest and open and feel like I don't have a problem with that side of it, but there is a certain like just feeling raw afterwards.
I completely understand that. Yeah. Actually, on your website, you do have a lot of links for people who are going through grief and those sorts of emotions. So I feel like that raw, vulnerable nature really kind of it opens the door for people to feel those emotions as well. So I think that's actually really great. One thing that I personally loved about your work is that you don't use a set form for all of your poems. Each one is a unique and like truly handcrafted moment. What's your editing process like? How often do you go over drafts?
You know, I love the editing process. I've grown to love it through the years that I've been writing. And sometimes my poems go through up to 15 drafts. Other times it's just a couple, or even occasionally in a rare, really lucky moment, it's, you know, a first draft, but that doesn't happen. But I love the editing process also because I feel like what I discovered is it's very healing. There's something about looking at my grief or a moment that caused a lot of pain or causes a lot of pain, and seeing it in an objective way, like not like kind of stepping outside of myself and away from my emotions, and
being able to observe.
I can reframe it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is absolutely wonderful. Last question. 2020 has been an exceptionally trying year for a lot of creatives and a lot of artists and a lot of people around the world. What are some tips, some tidbits of information that you can give to folks who, not even necessarily poets, but anyone who has a voice, like how to use their craft to process their emotions?
So that's a really good question. I think everybody has feels compelled. There's something they feel compelled to do, or that brings them joy. You know, whether it's a talent or something that they feel good sharing. And I think that my tip is to follow that. You know, to see those moments and be open and create life, create hope. Yeah.
Create life, create hope through the moments you see. Yeah. I love it. I love it so much. You know what? I am going to ask you one more question. You've mentioned often that you've been in writing classes. You are part of the LA Writers Collective. Do you find it easier to write a poem privately and then work on it in a group setting? Or do you prefer to just write in a group setting and kind of bounce ideas off of people? How does that really factor in?
You know, I love having a community of writers to share my work with and to get feedback from. So I do write in some workshops. I'll do in class writing, and I really appreciate that, the energy of the group and the collective consciousness and the writing prompts. I think all that helps me become a better writer. So I really enjoy being in workshops and groups.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's time for what I've personally been waiting for. I'm going to stop bothering you with questions. And for our viewers, we have a special treat for you, presented by Chanel Brenner. This is Why I Hate Mustela Baby Wipes. Take it away.
Why I hate Mustela baby wipes. They remind me of my son, writhing on the changing pad, my willowy silhouette wrestling his uncontainable energy. Wisp of hair bookmarked behind my ear. The memory scrapes like a skipping record. Hoist his bum, clutch his thrusting legs, wipe and repeat. His blue eyes plugged into mine like a lifeline. The sweet scent clinging to my hands, its saccharine aftertaste masking his decay.
Just beautiful.
Thank you.
Chanel, thank you so much, truly, from the bottom of my heart, and on behalf of everybody here at West Street Review, for sharing your words, your work, and your wisdom with us in this crazy year of 2020.
Thank you so much for having me and letting me share my work. I appreciate it. It means a lot.
Trust me, it's just as much as an honor. So once again, thank you. And to our viewers, we will see you soon with another brilliant author. But for now, this is Mike Marina and PostScript signing off.